Welcome to the MVP Show. I'm having a chat this time with the wonderful Julie Yack. If you want to check out the show notes, they're on nz365guide.com/39 for this episode. If there's a specific MVP, past or present, you'd like me to have on the show, please let me know. Now let's get on with the show.
There's a knife in my heart and a storm in my hand.
Okay, I'm here with Julie Yack, the most famous Julie Yack of the two Yacks. And if you don't know who the two Yacks are, just try Googling that and you'll find out. So Julie, welcome to the show. This is retake number 2 after our last audio failure in the when we were in Seattle.
Yes, but I think that things may be much better today with one exception.
What's that?
I have my dog with me here today.
Okay, what's your dog's name?
His name is Rusky. He's a Siberian Husky,
Rusky.
so that's the Russian word for Russian. And when I was doing a user group broadcast yesterday, he decided near the end he wanted to talk and be involved.
Oh, he can absolutely talk and be involved.
So he tends to talk with George. When I do calls with George Dubinsky, George will speak Russian with him, and he talks to George, and it's only George. So it's really weird.
Wow, that's incredible.
But he's 14 years old. He's currently asleep on my office floor.
And does he have like one blue eye, one brown eye?
He does. And he's also on Twitter. He is at Rusky Dog. Ruske.
Has he got a massive following?
No, not really.
I tell you what, Instagram's the channel for dogs, I think.
Maybe for young dogs. He's 14, which means he's like nearly 100 years old.
But I mean, there might be other 100-year-old dogs out there looking, you know.
Okay. We'll investigate Instagram for dogs.
Instagram's definitely for dogs. That's where it's at. So good to have you on the show. A couple of things. We met up recently in Seattle doing some work for Microsoft, and then all the big CRMUG is coming up shortly. Are you prepared for that? What are you doing? What's your plans?
I'm mostly prepared for that. I'm giving one talk about social and relationship sales, and I've actually been speaking on that quite a bit this year. And then I am with Sarah Jelinek and Britta Rekstad running the hands-on labs. So we'll have the opportunity for folks to get in there and try some things out in a safe environment. And we'll have everything from how to be a user of Dynamics all the way down to building flows and business process. Okay,
that's cool. And so you must have a bit of affinity for Phoenix where this event's at, because that's where you went to university, isn't that right?
So University of Phoenix is actually spread throughout the United States, and I attended a local campus. But I do have an affinity for Phoenix. My sister lives there.
Oh, that's nice. So are you going to visit her while you're at the CRM Summit?
Yes, we've got a couple extra days there to spend out at her place. She lives in an air park. So
I don't even know what an air park is.
Yep, everyone in the neighborhood has their own small planes, and her road that she lives on is genuinely a runway.
That's incredible. Guyan could come and live there. He's just bought himself an airplane, so
yeah. So he'd have to get it to Phoenix. There's a bit of a gap there between New Zealand and Phoenix.
He could hire a jet, put his plane in the jet or something, bring it over.
Of course. But we're also going to Ignite, and that's going to happen first, actually.
Wow, Ignite must be, by the time this podcast goes live, would have been over and done with, isn't it? Next week or something?
2 weeks out, I think. It's the end of the month, so we're closing in.
Awesome. That's so cool. And what's your plans there? What are you doing?
We are running a couple of hands-on workshops. We've got one for universal resource scheduling and one for taking your old school web app and putting it in unified interface. Then we've also are wrapping up the authoring of a few more hands-on labs for some hands-on lab stations that will be available. It'll be about flow, it'll be about custom controls, and some PowerShell work.
So you live in Colorado. Tell us a bit about Colorado, the area, and why it is an absolute must place to visit.
I just love it. The fresh air, the blue skies, the people are great. I've lived here for 20 years now, almost exactly 20 years actually this month. And it's home. I get off the airplane, I take a deep breath, the fresh air is just great.
And so when we're chatting, did you say it's quite high above sea level?
My house sits at 7,000 feet elevation.
Man, that just blows my mind. It's just, you're just about the top of a mountain.
No, actually, we're midway up the mountain. The mountain peaks here are around 13 to 14,000 feet.
So you regularly get snow there then?
Yes, we actually live in this specific area that is the convergence of like 3 different weather patterns that come out. And so our forecast is very unpredictable. You can take this forecast and merge it with this one and merge it with that one, and then maybe that's what we'll get.
So you've been an MVP for a long time. What would you say has been the highlight or a highlight of your MVP career so far? First of all, how long have you been an MVP?
I just hit my 10-year.
10 years. Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah. It's the people. It's the friends that I've made. It's being able to have fun with people who you can also have business conversations with. The folks that understand what you do day to day. You see the same folks over and over again at conferences or at meetings, like our stuff we were just doing in Seattle, and you become friends. I've had several of the MVPs that come through Colorado for work or for vacation. They come to our house. Several have stayed in our guest suite. We make dinner for people. We've had many folks come here.
And I assume that wine is part of the dinner?
Yes, of course wine is part of the dinner.
Oh, yes, as I have had a few drinks with you in the last couple of weeks at some restaurants, which is very nice. But I want to talk about, you got a hobby, which I didn't realize till chatting recently, in photography. Tell us a bit about that.
So yeah, my love of photography goes way, way back, back when I was in school and involved in newspaper publishing and yearbook publishing through middle school, high school, college, all the way through. I was involved in that. And so I've always had a love for photography, and turns out so does my husband. And we have been very fortunate to be able to travel a bunch for our work, and we get a chance to take photographs to all the different places that we go.
Wow, that's so cool. And recently you had some published, is that right?
Our office is also our gallery. So we have gallery space here in Colorado where people can come in and view our photos and hopefully buy some. And yes, recently a new wine bar here in our small town in Colorado opened up. And some of my photos are featured on the walls of the wine bar. So it's only proper for me to go visit my photos, right?
Exactly.
And have a glass of wine while I'm there.
A glass of Prosecco or two?
Yes.
Yes. Very nice. As in, I tell you what, this wine club that you're a member of, what does it stand for actually?
So it's the Women's International Networking Event. And now the secret's going to be out, Mark. It started with a group of us girlfriends who get to know each other at these conferences. Actually, we're all professional peers, and we happen to all be in Dynamics. And this year's group is actually all Dynamics MVPs or MVP alumni. And we're heading out on vacation on Wednesday, the next week. And it's our Women's International Networking Event, or WINE. And it came out of a conversation of, well, why don't adults have summer camp? Why can't we do those fun things that the kids get to do? And
I love it. I love it.
So it came from that.
What's a man's equivalent of that?
I don't care.
Yeah, but as in, like, this has actually got me quite interested. I'm like, this is such a cool thing to do. Like, I'm just
we do it every year. We get together, we find a spot, and we rent a very large home for an extended weekend. And we split the cost, depending on who shows up, 5-7 different ways. And we take turns cooking. We hang out, and yeah, it's awesome.
I love it.
This will be our 4th in a row, I think.
That is so cool. I'm going to have to find somebody, as in maybe it's Mr. Dembowski. Sorry, I've been saying this name a lot lately. It's not Mr. Dembowski. It's Mr. Dubinsky. Dubinsky. Maybe he would be interested in coordinating such an event because he's such a great traveler.
Well, but the men's equivalent would be called MINE, the Men's International Networking Event, and that just doesn't scale the same.
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And I mean, somehow we'd have to work in something like whiskey or rum into that for me. So,
Yeah.
well, whiskey for George. I'm more of a rum guy myself. So, yeah, okay. I see. You're a trainer, an author, a mentor, and a traveler, and obviously you're a mother and a massive contributor to society. You've done work at the White House and whatnot. Tell us a bit about what motivates you to, if you like, do so much, to add so much value, and so many of these things, it's all around teaching others, mentoring others, growing others, developing other people. What's your motivation?
Well, it's a handful of different things. Part of it, the root of it is it feels good to help people, right? It's very rewarding to watch others succeed and grow and to become a better version of themselves that maybe they didn't even know existed. And that comes from several different parts of my background. I am a typical middle child. I am an overachiever because how else do I get people's attention? I know that in conversation, I talk over people and interrupt people. But again, that goes back to I'm one of 6 kids. If I didn't talk on top of somebody else, I couldn't say anything. But then also that goes to nobody did that for me. So I don't want anyone else to have that feeling of not having someone they could depend on, not having someone they could reach out to. Because again, nobody did that for me. The first time that I had any kind of push or support or anything like that in a professional capacity was actually from my husband. And I will give him loads of credit for my success, knowing what I came from and how I got to where I am and how the people in my past just were not supportive. And the massive difference it is when you have a supportive partner.
Yeah, totally agree. And the supportive partner, to the listeners that she's talking about, of course, is David Yack, who's also an MVP, and he's a regional director as well. Is that right?
He is. He's been a regional director, I want to say close to 10 years. But that's not my score to keep.
Yeah, that's us. So tell me about, one of the things, that we do as MVPs, we have a lot of engagement with the product team. We have, what are they called? PGIs, are they?
Yeah, product group interactions.
Product group interactions. So these are kind of like calls at a regular, sometimes, like I think next week we got 3 of them. Where we get to have a open discussion with the product team. What do you see as the value to Microsoft in getting MVPs to engage that way?
Well, because we are the experts, we are engaged with the external community. We're the voice of the people, for lack of a better way of saying it. And we're the voice of reason sometimes.
So are you saying they're using us as kind of like a sounding board to what we're seeing going on in the markets and the around the world that MVPs are represented in, and using that feedback in how they're doing what they do?
That would be ideal. Absolutely. I think that is the goal. And over the 10 years that I've been engaged in the program, that the execution on both Microsoft side and MVP side ebbs and flows. But Microsoft is well aware that they develop in a sterile environment. When you hear a Microsoft speaker, they're great. They've got the insider knowledge. They know the core use of the product like nobody else. But then you put a community speaker, an MVP, or any other the conference speakers that are not Microsoft, they're out there doing it in the trenches. And how something works in your sterile environment versus how something works in my customer who's upgraded 3 different versions ago, it's going to be a different experience.
And so then what do you think the value on the flip side of that is that, there's been some chatter recently saying that, so you get all this content NDA, but you're not allowed to talk about it. So who cares? What's the value? If you're not allowed to talk about it, what's the value to finding out 6 months, 12 months, 18 months ahead of everybody else if you're not allowed to talk about it? What are your thoughts on that?
And see, that's a tough point for me, because if your only value is being able to make announcements, then maybe you're in the wrong place. If your only value is being able to broadcast things and whatnot, then maybe you're in the wrong place. But if that's truly what you feel you need from the program, then write the blog post and click publish the moment that the NDA is released, so you're the first one out there. Get those conference talks ready to go, so when the conference happens 2 weeks after the announcements, you're prepared to have the conversation. And as an MVP, oftentimes we've built ourselves a reputation where we can tell a conference, we know something's coming out. I can give you a very vague title for a presentation, but you're just going to have to trust me on the content. And I've seen that happen several times.
If you were to kind of describe, if you like, the particularly the dynamics or the business applications MVP community, what are the common traits that you see running through the MVPs that are positive?
It goes back to the friendships. I've made many, many friends, but also the desire to help. And it's not this competitive environment where we can't all succeed. And so we're all better because of one another, and we don't have to push somebody out of the way for our own success. And I think that speaks a lot to the character of the people who are in the program.
One of the things that you've been doing over the last 10 years is a thing called XRM Virtual. It's about 10 years, is that right?
Yeah, I think we're closing in on 10 years.
So this is an amazing online, if you like, user group, is that right? And where you meet virtually, which is the whole idea of the virtual. Okay, so tell us a bit about kind of who the target audience is for that, and why you've had this massive, length of success with that virtual user group.
Well, it started off because there weren't a lot of XRM developers. And so we couldn't practically have a traditional in-person user group meeting. So I've been involved in .NET developer user groups for a very long time, but always in a traditional sense. And then Shan MacArthur came to me and said, we should do this virtually. And so I think from the time we said, hey, yeah, let's do this, till the time we did our launch at Convergence one year, was just a few weeks. We organized and built a portal and did all of the work to get that started. And we immediately had members from all around the globe because there was a desperate desire for that learning. And now, sure, we've got XRM developers all over the world and many multiples more than we had before. But we're a reliable source of good information. So that's why we're still here. Because sure, there are, I'm sure, on-premise groups that meet more of a traditional way with a developer focus. But again, we're old reliable, and old reliable is just fine.
Well, I think it's like you're almost ahead of your time, because I think there's a growing demand for people that, because of geography, they can't necessarily, it could be geography, it could be family, it could be any number of reasons, that would make it not possible for them to attend an in-person event. And I think you've got this virtual event that's absolutely catering, no matter where you are in the globe, that you could, people could call home and learn and come along. I think it's, fantastic.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I continue to enjoy it. I had a request from a member that came in that said, we really need some more stuff on Azure. So I sent out an email to our CRM family of people, and I have 3 talks lined up ready to go that will be happening between now and the end of the year. So
how often does XRM Virtual meet, and where can people kind of find it if they want to attend, become a member, that type of thing?
Sure. Well, membership is free. If you register on our site, that just means that you get the meeting invitations. We don't send out newsletters. We don't solicit stuff. You get meeting invitations, and that's it. And when you set up at xrmvirtual.com, you can see all the meetings. The meetings, you don't have to register for them in advance. You can be as anonymous or as involved as you'd like to be. And we've got meetings coming up. Usually we do once a month, but sometimes when there's a rapid cadence of new stuff, we'll do twice a month. And right now we're on a twice a month schedule. So we shoot for Tuesdays and we shoot for 10 a.m. Mountain Time because I'm selfish and that's convenient for me. So I know that for the most part, that's a reliable time for me to be able to run and host a meeting. And if I'm unavailable, I've got some other MVPs that work with me that help out. So we've got Daryl Labar, Colin Vermander, and David Yack all help out in some capacity. And sometimes that means they're hosting a meeting. Sometimes that means they're sending out the email blast with the meeting invitation.
We touched on Summit, as in this is the D365 Summit coming up in Phoenix. And, you know, you must have attended literally hundreds of various things from convergence to user group events to any number of them and spoken a lot of them. What's the big benefit to the, you know, the users, the people that are coming along to these type of events? You know, why should they come along? What's the value in it for them?
Well, what I tend to see at specifically the dynamic community events is that it is learning that is attainable. It's not speaking over your head. You have so many choices of sessions that it comes right at your current level, and then you can move to the next level. You can find the exact subtopic that you're looking for and learn from the best. And it's presented in such a way that's not pretentious. It's not trying to make you an overnight expert. A lot of the folks that attend the conferences are from small groups or maybe a small team in a large group or something. And so the resources are very limited. Many folks there wear more than one hat. So it's a great place for people to go in and learn that one more thing they need to know.
That's so cool. This is actually my first ever attendance of this event.
Nice. Very nice. I got my 5-year mug last year. I've been to 5.
Never been.
And
I did a lot of convergence when they were running, which are fantastic. And now, you know, the Business Application Summit has come out to kind of fill that gap. But yeah, this will be the first time. So I'm looking forward to it. Never been to Phoenix, so that'll be interesting as well. What do you recommend food-wise there?
Well, I don't know. I eat at my sister's house.
Are they famous? Is Phoenix famous for anything?
Yeah, I'm really a bad tour guide for Phoenix.
Which is interesting because have you traveled to 40 plus countries now?
Actually I'm over 60.
You're over 60. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So
and I've been to every
state in the US. Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Oh, it's truly amazing. It's such an amazing opportunity, and do it while you can, right? Because we're not getting younger.
So you've got one continent on your bucket list that you haven't been to.
Yes, Antarctica.
So you're going to have to sort something out there, aren't you?
You know anybody that can help, Mark?
You know, there could be some ideas floating around, I think.
The dream is to have a work reason to go and then extend it by a few days for fun.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because a colleague of mine in Melbourne, Australia, he said, and he's a very avid photographer. He travels, you know, all over the world constantly, you know, with his range of cameras. And he just said to me recently, he was like, I'm thinking of putting a photography expedition onto Antarctica. But then he's turned around and got another job. So I don't know if he is going to follow through that. But it got me thinking that's definitely an option, right, to actually charter everything, get a bunch of people together and see what we could sort out. Because you've got to go down by boat, right? I don't think you can...
Yeah, you can get pretty close by plane. But yeah, the rest of it's by boat. Well, but everybody has photography tours, Mark. But what makes us different is we could do like, you know, a dynamics event on a boat. And during our days at sea, have learning.
This sounds like a plan. And obviously it would be, you know, as a deductible expense because it would be a business trip and you're learning. You could get, you know, continuing education credits, all those type of great things.
Or we could have folks that, you know, they pay for the learning aspect of it. it doesn't have to be a very big amount to pay for the learning aspect of it. And then that pays for the expenses of the people who are coming to deliver the training.
There's definitely some options there, and it sounds like a plan might be afoot. And so that sounds quite exciting.
You travel a lot too.
Haha, yeah.
Have you been to Antarctica yet?
Not yet. But I tell you what, if an expedition was organized, the Great Dynamics Expedition or the Great Business Application Expedition, I definitely would be keenly interested and would want to attend.
Is that the only continent you have left as well?
No. As in, I haven't done anything in South America. And yeah, that's the only one I haven't been to.
Okay. I've not done very much in South America, but I've been to both Brazil and Argentina.
Yeah, I want to do, there's some amazing climbs there. There's, Machu Picchu and places like that I definitely, want to go to, but I also want to spend a lot of time around all the various Caribbean type islands and Mexico and stuff like that. I haven't, done enough time there. And
yeah, I've been to a lot of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice at some point. Hey, just some quick fire questions before we wrap this little session up. I'm pretty much, I feel I know the answer to this, but I could be wrong. So what's the best purchase you've made under $100?
Oh my. I would have to say I can even make it under $10. I recently discovered that Costco has their own line of wine, because in Colorado we just now got liquor stores inside Costco. So Costco has their own branded Prosecco, and it's under $10 a bottle.
And it's tasty.
And
so is it American sourced or where?
Prosecco is Italian. That's what makes it Prosecco. It could be Prosecco style, but to actually be
I didn't know if
Prosecco,
it's like champagne
Italian.
where you can only come from Champagne, but is Prosecco the same thing? It must be from Italy?
Right, it's sparkling Italian wine.
I didn't know that that they had that naming type convention, which I found out when we were in Portugal. That port is actually specific. You can't just create any fortified wine and put the name port on it, which I didn't know.
Right.
Very interesting.
All about branding.
For real. Julie, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Before we go, if people want to find you, give us 3 places that you're contactable online.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Colorado Jules. And I will tell you that I also run my dog's account. So if you do follow him, you'll find me also.
What's your dog's account?
Ruski Dog. Ruske. And he's still napping, by the way. Sound asleep. So you can find me on Twitter. You can email me. I'm julie@julieyack.com. Pretty easy to remember. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find there as well.
She has skills and will travel.
Yes.
Awesome. Good talking to you, and we'll catch up with you in, I think, about a month's time in Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mark.
Cheers, Julie. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave feedback on your favorite podcast app. Full show notes can be found at nz365guy.com/39. And until next Thursday, ciao for now.